Okay, thank you to friends of Bukit Kiara for inviting me, and thank you to everyone for being here. So I don't have much time. I have about 15 minutes. So what I would like to do in these 15 minutes is basically to share what we do as environment journalists, and what's fun about it. And at the end, if I have time, if I time myself correctly, then some of the challenges about it. So the theme of today, this is my only slide, so we'll just run through all the stories here. So the theme for today's event is our power, our planet, right? So that led me to think, what is power and how does that relate to journalism? So I figured out that at its most basic aspect, the most fundamental thing about having power is having the ability or the courage or the capacity to make a choice, to decide. You guys decide to fight, so that's a choice made. So if you are not able to make any choice at all, then we will be utterly powerless, right? And so, it could be a choice of how we want to feel, a choice of what we want to eat, as simple as that, or a choice of who we want to vote for, a choice of what is my take on life itself, what is my ultimate goal in life. And of course, everyone wants to make a choice to lead better lives, right? Like, at the very basic, a choice so that I can lead a better life, or a better life for my community, a better condition or an outcome for the environment. And so we have to make choices all along the way. And to make such good choice, which hopefully lead to the direction that I want it to, we need information. And we don't just need information in pieces, we need information that is synthesized, all put together, within a context, not just isolated pieces of the puzzle, but to put them all together. And so then we can then decide, okay, what should I do so that it leads to the outcome that I want? And here is where an environment journalist could help. And this is a service that we can provide of public interest. So we would go out and we'll do our reporting to the best of our ability, and then we'll present the issues, the information, as close to the truth as we can possibly gather. And not only that, right, we have to put them all together in a story form, so that it is not just a report, but more of like a story, so that people would want to read it. Otherwise, we would just be a think tank, which is great, of course, not dissing them, but we do tell stories. So this is what we do, and we don't tell the people, the readers, what choice to make. We are not, at least at Macaranga, we are not of the activist journalist type. We are more the traditional journalists. So we basically present the reporting, we tell the story, we tell you what are the outcomes of this choice, and then what are the other choices available, right? And then you decide. So you decide, okay? So that's what we do. And so Macaranga, this is the organization, it's a company. Many people think of us as an NGO, and then they're very surprised when I tell them we are Sendirian Berhad. So we are a media company founded in 2019. We are the only newsroom dedicated to environmental reporting in Malaysia, and we only focus on Malaysia. And the way we do our reporting is that it is very data-driven, very research-based, and we go quite in-depth. So we are a very small team. The smallest definition of a team would be 2, and we have been 2 persons for most of our existence. And so we only do stories, we only do reporting that we know our colleagues won't really invest their time in, right? So if it's a very hot topic, we typically do not report on it. So just want to share with you a few of the stories that I did for Macaranga in the last 2 years to give you a taste of what an environment journalist do. We have so few environment journalists. Probably one hand I can count all of them, and they are probably mostly in Macaranga. So if any of you feel inspired in any way, you want your children to go become an environment journalist, awesome, okay? So there are 5 stories here. So starting with the one on your top left. So what we see there, too bad, it's a bit too far. It's a photo of, you see forest in the end, at the background. So everything you see here is part of a forest reserve, including the part that has been cleared. So this is what in Malaysia we call a forest plantation. In Malay, it's called ladang hutan. So basically, it is a project where the developers will go in, they will clear the site, and then they will replant with a single species of fast-growing trees. In Malaysia, it has typically been eucalyptus, acacia, rubber trees, batai, that sort. And according to Macaranga's research, so far, all of the forest plantation in Peninsular Malaysia, and has been a lot, yeah, all of it has been within forest reserves. So that means they have been clearing forest reserves, the natural forests that were there, and they're replanting it, supposedly replanting it with a single species of trees. The idea was quite noble, I would say. The original idea was so that we can focus on only a certain area of land, and then we have a tree farm, and then we can have the economy of scale, we can have better quality control, and then in the long run we won't need to log our natural forest as much. We can just focus on all these tree farms. So we went in, we looked at the data, we crunched 20 years of forestry data, we looked at the satellite map, we talked to a lot of people, and we simply asked, in Macaranga, we are not against mining or logging or whatever development per se. We simply ask, is this project sustainable in the short run and the long run? Is this location sustainable? Is this method sustainable, for the people, for the economy, and for the environment? So in this case, we asked the same question. And lo and behold, we found that first thing, almost about all of the forest plantations have replaced natural forests. And what is so unsustainable about it is that 2/3 of all the forests that they have cleared were not replanted. So the planters, the loggers went in, cleared the forest, sold the timber, and then just left it. So obviously there are economic issues there are labor issues, disease issues there with the plantation. So it is not working as well. The government recognizes it. The Auditor General published a report on this a year after our report, which more or less support our finding. Right. So up next on that corner is reports, one of the most comprehensive environmental impact assessment reports in Malaysia. And you can see how thick those reports are. That's the main report on the right, and then on the left is the appendix. So there's an actual, a size of a soda can. So environmental impact assessment reports are very, very important. They give us a lot of information. I mean, you can debate about the authenticity or the data itself, but it does contain a lot of information. And at Macaranga, when we want to learn about a project or a certain area, we refer to the environmental impact assessment report a lot. But the whole process of it, as Prof. Budel has already mentioned just now, is very opaque. A lot of it is not transparent, and we cannot really get the feedback from the authorities on why and how they approve certain reports and not certain reports. So there are many gaps in the process, and the government is amending the laws to make it, hopefully to make it better. And so Macaranga came in earlier this year to investigate this and try to look at what is sustainable about it, what is not, and how can we suggest ways to the government to improve the process. That story, if you go to Macaranga and you just search EIA, that story has like plenty of alternatives and suggestions that everyone can take and make use of. So definitely go read that. And that story there on the so one thing to point out, with that story on the EIA report, we didn't do any field reporting, but what we did was we scraped the government data to get a list of probably the most complete list of EIA reports over the last 10 years, and then we analyzed it, and then we also wanted to test the government's assertion that, hey, anybody can just go to a DOE office, ask for the EIA report, and you can get it. That's what they say. So we want to test that. So we had our volunteers go out to about 8 states, and then to get the EIA report. The results were okay, not too damning on the government, but not so positive either. And then there on the lower right is an example of a plantation project that wanted to clear 8,500 hectares of natural forest in Pahang. So we also went into this from an EIA report. This was during COVID time. I did the interview as I was lining up for the COVID vaccine. And basically, it really unearthed, our investigation revealed many gaps in the process and in the project itself. Namely one, the Orang Asli community on site have been protesting the project for years. They erected blockade, they filed police report. But with the EIA report that was submitted by the developer, they actually had a letter of consent signed by the Orang Asli saying that they agreed to the project. So that was, curious. And then we started our investigation. and blah blah blah. A few years later, it led to a lawsuit, and just about 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago, they settled. One of the lawsuits was had reached a court settlement, and of the 8,500 hectares, one third of it has already been cleared, so that's gone. 2/3 remain, and the court settlement could only save about 10% of that. So out of the 8,500 hectares, after all these years, in the end, all the conditions come together, only about 730 hectares is now spared. All the rest of it has either been cleared or now can be cleared by the developer. So again, how sustainable is this? The thing is here, the Malaysian oil palm certification, which is mandatory MSPO, already prohibits the planting and trading of oil palm on deforested land starting 2020. And yet here is a project approved by all the authorities that seemingly will go against their own policies. We have asked all the questions, we have got the answers, and the answers, but still it goes ahead. So yeah, well, there's only so much a journalist can do in this case. But yeah, so we reviewed it, and then the Orang Asli on the site made their choice. Do they want to fight? They fought. And then they did get a great deal out of it. They managed to protect their customary land rights. Okay, so the one in the middle, I'm going to go really quickly now. It's not forest stuff, but it's actually a story. These are satellite images of sand mining operations along Sungai Kurau. That's in Perak, and it flows into a very famous lake called Bukit Merah Lake. And what's so famous about Bukit Merah Lake? Well, there's a resort there, which is, well, I'm not sure who goes there now. There's a resort there, but there is also arowana fish there. Asian arowana. So Asian arowana is one of the world's most expensive pet fish. And Malaysia, you might not know this. Who rears arowana here? No? Wow, you guys are outliers. Okay, because many people rear arowanas in Malaysia. In fact, Malaysia in a year, we breed in our aquaculture, in our farms, we breed more than 1 million arowanas a year, and we export 300,000 arowana a year. We are the world's largest exporter of Asian arowana. A lot of money have been made and to be made in there. And the funny thing is, it's all legal, but Asian arowanas in the wild continue to decline. They have been endangered since the 70s, and they still continue to be endangered. So we came into this asking a very simple question. Why has all these successful business ventures, and the government has taken tax on this and all this psyche stuff, how has it not led to better conservation of wild Asian arowanas? Why has it not? And what could be done? The government is working on this, and even the private the fish breeders, they are releasing hundreds of farm adult Asian arowana into the rivers and into the lake as a conservation measure. And so we asked, is this sustainable? Are you guys doing the right thing? And so we showed that you might be releasing it, but they're not tracking the outcomes of those fish. Who knows how many survive? That's one. But the whole habitat is so degraded. Has been degraded. Bukit Merah Lake, every time there's a drought, the water level really drops, and then there's like so many sand mining happening upstream. And Asian arowana, when they mate and when they lay eggs, so the pair swims together, and then they go down to the bottom of the river or the lake, and then they lay their eggs there, and then the male scoops it back up. So the lake bottom or the bottom of the river is very important for food and for mating, and so the habitat is not really being taken care of. So then there also we question it, right? And so we use a lot of satellite, field reporting, archives. Yeah, we did a lot of reporting on this one. And that's the last one here. This is a story about another oil palm plantation company that wants to convert 900 hectares of virgin peat swamp forest into oil palm. Again, how is this sustainable? But the point I want to make here is, as reporters, we have to tell stories. So sometimes we have to make illustrations also, just to show people, carbon emissions, carbon dioxide, you can't see it and you can't even smell it. So, and so we have to do illustrations like this to tell people when you have a baby and the baby is like 7 days old, this site would have released enough carbon dioxide to fill, how much is that? 5 KL towers. Just to give people an idea of the impact. So, okay, my time is almost up, nobody's chasing me off yet, so I'll just drag 1 more minute. So as an environment journalist, and I've been doing this for 11 years now, this is my 11th year, there is plenty of fun to be had in it. So there's a lot of, I am an ecologist by training, so the reporting itself is very scientific, it's very rigorous. We go by a hypothesis testing method. We ask questions, we have hypotheses, we find the evidence to support or refute the hypothesis. So in that, it's very scientific and I liked it. But then in the end, when you put all the evidence together and you want to tell the story, that is the creative and art part. And that is extremely fulfilling. So for me as a scientist, I've never had that, right? And then here as a journalist, I could do that. And our reporting, our work has led to very material impact. Lawsuit, the government has taken our results to launch internal investigation on projects of the country's arguably most powerful person, stopped his project, and so it has led to material impact. And that is more than we can ask for. However, talking about sustainability, we have not been able to make our own business sustainable. And that is the ironic part. We question other people's sustainability, but our own business as environment journalism is very, very difficult to sustain. And that is it's a struggle that we continue to have simply because we don't accept advertisement and we don't accept corporate funding. I think Macaranga is a bit weird in that way, but that has really proven to be the bane of our business model. But that's the challenge. But overall, it's extremely satisfying and very fun to do. If you want to do environmental journalism or environmental reporting, you don't have to be Macaranga. Anyone really. You have the tools now to just pick it up and do it at home. Anyone can. Believe me, really anyone can. You don't need to be Macaranga. You don't need to do all this like big one. You can do small one and you could still be an environmental journalist. And a very good one too. Still not stopping me. I could go on for now. Okay, well, thank you very much.